I haven't been able to speak about it. Not properly. Every time I've tried, the words slip away like they're afraid to be said out loud. But something changed in me after that night. Something cold, something permanent. It happened so quietly, I didn't even understand it at first. No blood, no screams. Just a room I was never supposed to find, and a moment that shouldn't exist. People say trauma comes from chaos, but what I saw wasn't loud. I was careful. Silent. Like the horror had been rehearsed 100 times before I got there. I don't know why I stayed. I wasn't invited to the party to begin with. I didn't know the owners, didn't belong in that house. I came as someone's plus one. By the time I felt the energy shift in the room, by the time the smile started looking plastic, I just wanted to leave. That's it. Just find the door and go. But the house didn't let me out. I passed one hallway, then another. Then I found a third one I hadn't noticed before. It was darker than the rest. Quiet, like the walls were holding their breath. And still I walked in. The deeper I went, the more it felt like I wasn't inside a house anymore. The air was different, heavy, still, like walking underwater. Each step made my body tense up, like my muscles were trying to turn me around before my mind caught up. There were no sounds. Not even the soft echoes of laughter from upstairs, just my breathing. And even that felt too loud. At the end of the hallway was a door, barely open. A thin line of light spilled into the corridor, orange. Soft, unnatural. It didn't flicker like fire. It pulsed, steady and slow, like it had a heartbeat of its own. I should have turned around. That thought came to me more than once. But I didn't. Something pulled at me. Not curiosity, not fear, just something quiet. Like whatever was inside already knew I was coming. I stepped closer, careful not to make a sound. I don't know why I was being so quiet. No one had seen me, but I felt watched. The light hit my shoes first, then my hands. And then I leaned forward, just far enough to see through the crack. Kanye stood in the middle of the room, still. Barefoot, his arms hung at his sides, limp. His eyes were half open, staring at nothing. Not blinking, not focused. He looked like a person who'd been emptied out and left standing. And he wasn't alone. 6 or 7 people stood in a wide circle around him. They wore long robes, all the same dark color, with hoods pulled over their faces. None of them moved. None of them spoke. They just stood there, perfectly spaced, perfectly still. One of them wasn't hooded. Diddy, he stood at the front, his face calm. No smile, no shock. Just that same look people wear when they've done something so many times. It doesn't feel wrong anymore. The room wasn't loud, but it pressed in around me like a weight. The silence wasn't empty. It was full of something I couldn't name. The candles around the circle weren't flickering like normal. They leaned toward Kanye. All of them, like he was pulling them in. I didn't know what I was watching, but my body did. My fingers went numb. My legs locked. I couldn't blink. Kanye didn't look scared. He didn't look drugged. He looked absent, like his soul had stepped out and left the lights on. And that's when he moved. Just a little. His head tilted. His eyes opened all the way. And they landed on the door. He saw me, not in a startled way. Not surprised. He just looked like he was supposed to. Like he was waiting for someone to witness it. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe a few seconds. Maybe a full minute. The longer I looked, the less sense anything made. The room wasn't part of the house I walked into that night. It couldn't be. It didn't match the floor plan. It didn't match the feel of the rest of the space. It was like it had been built for one reason, and one reason only. There were no windows, no vents, no visible exits apart from the door I stood behind. The ceiling wasn't flat. It curved upward, forming a slow dome. At the very top, something was drawn, something I couldn't make out clearly, but it seemed to glow faintly, as if reacting to the candlelight below. A symbol maybe, or a mark, but not decoration. It felt functional. The walls weren't made of drywall or wood. They were something else, something older, colder. A deep, dark gray that absorbed the light instead of reflecting it. The floor was bare, but clean, too clean, Not a scuff, not a scratch. Like no one walked in or out, only in, and still, Kanye didn't move. The people in robes remained silent. No gestures, no movement. They didn't need to do anything. Because whatever was happening, it was already in progress. It didn't rely on them. They were just standing there like witnesses. Or vessels. Something in my gut twisted. I felt it before I understood it. This wasn't just a gathering. It was a system. It was precise. It had rules. I wasn't just in the wrong room. I was in the middle of something that didn't allow accidents. And yet there I was. I wanted to step back, to leave. But something in that room made my legs lock. It wasn't fear, not at first. It was recognition. Like something in the space knew me and was deciding whether I should stay. Then it happened. Kanye blinked, just once. Slow, like he was waking up or being pulled further under. And at that exact moment, every candle leaned in toward him, the flames stretching long and thin, as if they were reaching for his skin. No wind, no movement. Just the flames bending in unison, controlled, called. I've seen fire all my life. But fire doesn't do that, not without something behind it. One of the robed figures moved just slightly. A shift in the foot, a breath. The air seemed to grow warmer, not in heat, but in weight, the kind of warmth that presses on your chest like hands. Kanye's body didn't flinch, but his fingers twitched, barely. A soft, involuntary movement, like something was leaving, or entering. That was when I realized the silence in the room wasn't natural. It was held in place, forced, like sound had been turned off on purpose, like even noise was afraid to stay. I pressed my back to the wall. My breath was shallow, weak, and still, my eyes stayed locked on him. He wasn't just standing there, he was being kept there. It didn't happen all at once. That's what made it worse. You'd think a moment like that, if it were real, would be loud, would be sharp, but it wasn't. It crept in the way sleep does when you're too tired to notice it. The light in the room didn't change. The people didn't move, but something shifted in the air. At first, I thought it was just me, like I was losing sense of where I was. My legs felt weak. My chest got tight, but then I saw it. Kanye's shoulders dropped barely. His mouth opened slightly, as if taking in one long, slow breath. His eyes, still blank, flickered once. That was the first real sign. A flicker, not of light, but of something inside. Something pulling back, something unplugging. It was like watching a person leave their body without falling down. Then Diddy stepped forward. He didn't speak. He didn't raise his hands. He simply moved one foot into the circle, and the other stepped back slightly, as if giving him space. But Kanye didn't react, not even a blink. His arms remained limp, his head tilted downward again, as if he'd gone even deeper into whatever state he was in. The temperature dropped. That was real. I felt it on my skin, first my arms, then my face. My breath fogged up slightly, even though the candles were still burning. I looked at the door handle next to me. It had condensation on it. Whatever was happening in that room, it was touching everything. Kanye made another twitch. His right hand jerked just once. The kind of movement you'd see from someone half asleep, jolting out of a dream. But he didn't wake up. He just settled back into stillness. Even deeper, like the thing that had jolted had finished leaving. And then his eyes opened wider. This time they didn't land on the wall or the floor. They landed on me. Our eyes met again, just like before. But it wasn't the same look. This wasn't blank anymore. It was quiet, calm. But too calm, like the surface of a lake, you know is hiding something deep underneath. I couldn't tell if he recognized me, or if something else was looking through him. But I knew at that moment something was gone. Not broken, not damaged, just removed. And whatever was left behind, it was enough to keep walking, keep talking, keep performing. But it wasn't him. Not all of him. Didn't tell anyone what I saw. Not right away. Not even the person who brought me to the party. I left without a word, without my coat, without looking back. And I didn't sleep that night, not even a little. For the next few days, I tried to pretend it didn't happen. I stayed offline. I avoided the news. But the moment I opened my phone again, There he was, Kanye. Front page, trending, smiling. Sort of. People were saying he disappeared for a few days. Vanished. Then suddenly showed up again at a restaurant in LA, same hoodie. Same sunglasses. But something about him looked slower. Offbeat. Like he was walking behind his own thoughts. The world started asking questions, but they were the wrong ones. Is he spiraling again? Did he stop taking his meds? Is this another media stunt? They didn't know what I knew. That wasn't a breakdown. That wasn't exhaustion. That wasn't creative pressure. It was the aftermath. I watched the interviews, public appearances. I watched the way he blinked too long between words, the way he paused before answering questions. The rhythm was wrong. His eyes stayed open, but they didn't follow faces the same way. Like he was reading from a page that only he could see. And when he did speak, it was different. Not the tone. He still had that familiar cadence. But the meaning behind the words, it was disconnected. Like he was saying things just to keep the noise going. Like there was nothing behind them anymore. The headlines kept flipping between concern and mockery. They treated him like a headline, like a product glitching in public. But I saw something they couldn't see. Because once you see someone leave themselves, you can't unsee it. And that night, something stepped out of him. Or maybe something else stepped in. Sometimes I try to compare clips of him, old ones, from before. From back when he laughed with his whole face. When he stumbled through sentences with too much energy, not too little. There was always fire in his voice back then. Now it sounds like smoke. I started noticing little things. In photos, in videos. His hands always clenched when he wasn't speaking. His jaw locked. His shoulders are stiff. Always standing like someone expecting a signal, waiting to perform, not to live. One day I saw him walk into an event, and for just a moment, his eyes flicked toward the camera, but not at the lens. Past it, like something else was watching. Like the camera wasn't just filming, it was checking in. And that's when it hit me. Whatever happened in that room wasn't meant to break him. It was meant to contain him. To change just enough that no one would look too closely. Just enough to keep the machine moving. He came back still breathing, still famous, still functioning, but not whole. He came back wearing something that looked like himself. And the rest of the world, they didn't notice. But I did, because I watched the real Kanye stand in the center of that room. And I watched him fade out. It took me weeks to even begin processing what I saw. I didn't have the words for it. I still don't. But silence has a way of making things louder over time. And the more I tried to forget, the more I started seeing it everywhere. Not just in Kanye, but in others too. I remembered how Lauryn Hill disappeared at the peak of everything, one of the brightest voices of her time, gone almost overnight. The headlines said she walked away. But the way she spoke when she came back, slower, tired, like she'd seen too much and couldn't say any of it out loud. I thought of DMX, of how he tried to tell people what was happening behind the scenes, how he broke down on stage, how they called him unstable, paranoid, unwell. But what if he wasn't rambling? What if he was trying to say something no one was willing to hear? Cat Williams, Orlando Brown, Chappelle before he ran to Africa. They all had moments, breaks, outbursts, disappearances. They all got too loud for the system. And then the system silenced them, not by force, but by confusion, by labels, by carefully timed shame. And it always starts the same way. People say they're acting strange, then they vanish. Then they return, quiet and off, like something's been corrected. Once I started looking, I couldn't stop. I saw it in music videos, symbols I didn't notice before. Spirals, circles, shadowy figures hidden in plain sight. I thought they were creative choices. Now I'm not so sure. The more I looked, the more I felt like I was being watched back. I dug deeper, through forums, leaks, old interviews people don't talk about anymore. One thing kept coming up, control. Not just through money or contracts, something deeper, something spiritual, not death, no harm, but removal, a kind of sacrifice that doesn't leave a body behind. Just an empty space where a voice used to be. And once I saw the pattern, I saw the method. They don't want to destroy people. That would be too obvious, too messy. Instead, they take what made them loud, what made them feel. Their soul, their spark, the thing that can't be replaced. Kanye was just the first time I saw it happen with my own eyes. But he wasn't the beginning. And he won't be the last. What I saw that night wasn't rare. It was routine. For a while, I thought I got away. I told myself maybe I hadn't seen it clearly. Maybe the fear had twisted it. Maybe it wasn't a ritual. Maybe it wasn't anything. But deep down, I knew better. And the silence didn't stay in that house. It started with little things. Lights flickering in my apartment at night. My phone froze for a few seconds every time I tried to search for Kanye, not other celebrities, just him. Every time. As if something didn't want me going back to that name. Then I started dreaming. Not the usual kind. These dreams were dry. Colorless. I'd be standing in the middle of a room with no windows, no floor, no ceiling, just black. And I could feel something breathing behind me. Every time I turned, nothing was there. But I'd wake up shaking, drenched cold. The same spiral burned into my head over and over again. Once, I opened my fridge at 3 a.m., and the light inside flickered in the same rhythm I saw on the candles that night. Slow, then faster, like a signal. And it wasn't just my home. I started seeing that symbol, the curved spiral on the ceiling, in places that didn't make sense. On a flyer stuck to a bus window, on the back of a shampoo bottle, even scratched into the dust on the hood of my car. I told myself I was just losing it, that I was letting fear mess with my mind. But one night I wanted to write everything down, to finally get it out of my head, and the screen on my laptop went black. Then came the voice. It didn't speak in full sentences, just fragments, like broken static in a whisper. You saw him? You stayed too long? You don't get to leave clean. I shut the laptop and left it alone. I haven't touched it since. The next day, I found a package outside my apartment. No return address, just a flash drive inside. No label, no note. I haven't plugged it in. And now, sometimes, I'll walk past a mirror, and for a second, I swear my reflection moves slower than I do. Just half a second, a delay. But enough to remind me that I didn't walk away untouched. That room didn't just change Kanye. It marked me. I don't expect you to believe any of this. Honestly, I'm not even sure I want you to. Because belief isn't what gets you pulled in. Attention is. The same way I wandered through that house, quiet, curious, alone, you've made it this far. And that's all it takes. You weren't there that night. But now, you've seen what I saw. And once you've seen it, it doesn't let go. It doesn't need proof. It just needs presence. Kanye still walks, still speaks, still makes headlines. But you'll see it now. The stiffness in his shoulders, the pauses that last half a second too long. The way his eyes sometimes search the room, but never really settle. The mask holds, but not well. And me, I've accepted it. That I wasn't supposed to be there. That I wasn't meant to carry this. But I looked, I stayed, and now it's watching me the same way it watched him. If he ever looks at you the way he looked at me that night, don't look back. Not all the way. Because when your eyes lock with something hollow, you feel it trying to see what's hollow inside you. So if you hear the silence stretch too far, if your screen flickers in a rhythm that doesn't feel right, don't try to find out. Run! If you made it this far, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think something really changed in Kanye that night? Or do you think this goes deeper than we're allowed to know? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if this story got you thinking, even a little, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. We've only just started.